Check out this baby right here. It can hold so many drives. Okay, actually 8. But is that enough? My name is Chris, this is Coalition Gaming, and today I'll be your computer technician. So we have this Synology DS1821 Plus 8-bay network attached storage box. We're going to be putting 4 drives in it today to start it out at least. And just in case you're wondering what a NAS is, well, this is a big box that holds a bunch of hard drives and can be configured to also try to keep your data safe in case of drive failure. So today, let's go ahead and unbox that right now. Also, I'm going to show you guys how to install the drives in one of these, how to connect it to your network, and talk a little bit about why you might need one. Pizza time. This is my Peter McKinnon special knife, custom made in my home basement, where I also do all sorts of crazy leather crafting and wood crafting and woodworking. But actually, no, I just got it at a kind of like a souvenir shop.
Flag the flag.
That's the back of it. Woo! Get out of here. We finally bit the bullet and bought a NAS and a bunch of drives. This is like $2 grand, by the way, all this stuff right here. We bought it all ourselves. Nobody sent this to us. Synology didn't send us anything. Seagate didn't send us anything. So yeah, this was a really big bullet to bite, but absolutely necessary for the growth of the channel and the growth of data usage. So a cool thing about a device like this is they come in varying sizes. This one is for holding 8 drives, and they could be up to 16, 18 terabytes or whatever you can afford that can go in there. These ones are 8 terabyte drives today, and we only have 4, so we'll only be half filling it. And we're not really getting 8 times 4 terabytes worth of data capacity because it's going to have something called redundancy that helps protect you in case of data loss, in case of drive failure. So depending on how you arrange that, you'll only get a portion of that. Whatever the case is, let's talk more about the box now. This is the Synology DS1821 Plus, like I mentioned. Let's go around back because the front is pretty obvious, 8 drive base. Around back here, we have this empty slot, which is important for a device like this because that provides expansion. You can add NVMe cache drives, which will speed up performance of something like this. Or you could also add like a 10 gig networking card so you have faster networking speeds the way that you connect it. This specific device gives you 2 NVMe slots to work with, so you do have a little bit of expansion here. On this side right here, we have an eSATA port. Well, eSATA may not be all that common anymore. These Synology network attached storage devices use them for you to expand how many drives you want. So you wouldn't necessarily need to buy an entirely new NAS box if you wanted to add more drives to your backup solution. You can just buy one of their expander boxes and you run it in through the eSATA port. It actually has 2 eSATA ports, so you can have more flexibility with that. Then you also have some USB 3.0 ports, and then here's what's most important. You have Ethernet ports. Now these are each 1 gig Ethernet ports, and the more you connect to your network with one of these connect to your router or your switch or something like that, the more sort of bandwidth you will get back and forth instead of rushing everything in through one cable, like one pipe. If you have multiple pipes connected, it'll be a little bit more efficient. Won't necessarily go any faster, but it'll help keep things from slowing down a little bit. Then finally over here, the spot for the power connector. Now this is more of a consumer level device. You only get 1 power supply inside of it. Higher end devices that do what this does can have dual power supplies for even more safety. Opening the box that had the Synology in it was this little guy. So this had some stuff in it that's going to be used to get this all installed. We actually have not 1, but 2 Ethernet cables. Now let me have a look here. Are they Cat 6? They are Cat 5e, good enough. So it's nice that they give you 2, so you get a little bit more bandwidth by connecting both of them to the same switch, like I mentioned. Also, we have a power cable. Very important. You can't run one of these without that. We got a quick installation guide, some screws, which I think is going to be getting used to get all the drives installed in the bays. And here's something that's kind of nice, is little keys. These little keys will help lock in the drives, and that way no little curious ones can open the box and pull the drives out while it's on, because that would be bad. So let's get some of this stuff plugged in, ready to go for its eventual installation. Power connection is here, and I can't see, so I'm doing this blind, and there we go, I did it, hey! And then we also have the Ethernet ports. We're gonna have a couple of Ethernet cables going in. One, nice satisfying click, so you know they're in, and then two, boom. Let's talk a little bit more about how these are gonna connect to your network though. So you might have a router or a switch where all your wired devices connect to in your home network. Here I have a switch just to demonstrate, and the benefit of a device like this is once you have it connected to your network, any computer in your network can access it as long as you configure them to do so. But realistically, as far as connecting it, it's the simplest thing ever. You just find some empty ports, plug it in, and then the rest happens on the computer, which we'll get to shortly. So let's get to the main event now, installing these drives into the NAS. And the cool thing with this one, and this is actually a really important reason as to why they lock, is they're really easy to open. You just push, and there you go. And it just slides right on out. So each drive will go in, and I believe it to go in just like this. So let me actually have a look as to the orientation of the drive real quick though. Well, we also have to screw in the drive, so time to get out my iFixit toolkit! Oops, never mind. Actually, it's toolless. We didn't need the iFixit toolkit. All right, the drives are now installed. Now it's time to get to the installation process on the desktop. Synology NASes support a wide array of RAID configurations for however you want to set that up for drive redundancy and stuff like that. However, one of the reasons that we went with Synology is because they have something called Synology Hybrid RAID. The reason that we went with that is because we're only putting 4 drives in, and that way we can add 1 drive at a time. Synology Hybrid RAID will just take that drive in, add it to the array of drives, and then you have the increased redundancy of that, as well as adding to the space of it. And you can do it one by one, or or with 2, or with 3, or you can do it with all 4. It's nice to have that flexibility when we can't fill it up immediately. And that's something that maybe you guys might be interested in. Alrighty, so now we're at Wayne's house where we've set up the NAS on the top, out of the way. It's on the top of a bookshelf, as a matter of fact, so pretty decent spot for it. The first thing that you do after you have it all plugged in and turned on up there is that you come down to the computer and you go to find.synology.com and you go ahead and run that. It will automatically search for it on your network. And just give that a second for it to detect it, and we'll see what we do next. And there it is, automatically detected already. The setup, the ease of setup with one of these, it's really good. So it's very impressive, as a matter of fact. So here's the information. Make sure that it matches up to what you bought, what you have, and then click connect. Go ahead and agree to the information that pops up, and then it will begin loading from there. So now you're greeted with a setup screen. We're going to go ahead and click that setup. And let's see, install Disk Station Manager. Yes, we definitely have to install that. All data on the drives will be removed. Yes, they were fresh drives, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And now I got to sit and wait for the Disk Station Manager software to fully update, format, and do all its stuff that it needs to do. Completing installation. All right, so once the installation of that stuff is ready to go, you'll get a menu or a screen that says that it's restarting your NAS. Don't worry, you have a timer here to, I guess it's a timer for it to count down and reconnect. So nothing to worry about. It should connect within that amount of time, not need all that time. All right, once it's all updated and ready to go, let's go through it. So you got to name your device here at the top, and let's see, administrator account password. Go ahead and create that. Once you've created that account and named your NAS, you have this menu here. Select an update option for your NAS. We're just going to trust Synology here and let it automatic install any important updates and packages and stuff. Then you can also create a Synology account online. That is for some extra benefits, like it says here. Monitoring and protection, you can manage your device information, look at the purchase history, add-ons and stuff, service support tickets, all that. We're going to go ahead and skip that for now, but if it's something that interests you guys, go ahead and go for it. Also, we have some device analytics. We're not going to check that box just for the sake of it. We're just going to click submit, and let's keep on going. So now we're here at the basically the operating system of it. What I like about the Synology NAS system is it kind of looks like its own version of Windows. You have your control panel and stuff on the left that has all these menus and other stuff that we'll be exploring shortly, as well as like Package Center, where you can look at the different packages for, I believe it would be for cloud sync services and all sorts of different things that you can do with the NAS. And again, we'll go over that shortly as well. What we need to do right now is set up the storage pool and the volume. We need to actually make the drives exist for us to access them. So let's go ahead and create that now. And let's see, start to create storage pools and volume. Yes. Now, RAID type. This part is very important. You have SHR, which is Synology Hybrid RAID. And let's see, what is SHR2? Minimum drives 4, drive fault tolerance 2. So it's a stronger version of SHR, because SHR is minimum number of drives 1 with a 1 drive fault tolerance. You also have RAID 1, which is mirroring, just straight mirroring, minimum drives 1. You can lose 1 drive, that's your tolerance there. You have also RAID 5, RAID 6, RAID 10, JBOD, which is just a bunch of disks. So that's basically collecting all the disks that are in the NAS and pooling them together. No redundancy. If one drive fails, you lose everything. So generally not recommended. RAID 0, also not recommended if you want redundancy, but it is really fast. So there's that. And so look into which RAID would be best for you. For us, one of the reasons we went with the Synology was because of the expandability of the SHR. SHR lets you add drives dynamically, and they don't even necessarily need to be the same size as the existing drive. So it adds the most flexibility to a NAS setup. The only downside is it's proprietary to Synology. You can't just rebuild a traditional RAID array in another box and then just recover it in case there's a massive failure. So, you know, you have some positives and some negatives, but again, we're going to stick with Synology for this. So let's do the SHR. Real quick though, since we're going with SHR, which is 1 drive fault tolerance, well, you might be wondering if you can go to SHR2, which I mentioned has 2 drive fault tolerance. Well, it looks like there are options, or there is an ability to convert from SHR to SHR2 so you can increase your redundancy, but it will take time to rebuild the entire array when you do it. So it's not something that's instant. It is something that you'll have to prepare for. And it might take a couple days. If you just got to make sure you have the time. So something that apparently is doable with the Synology in case you wanted to increase your redundancy, like I mentioned, which is a nice feature. After you selected your desired RAID configuration, it's going to ask you which drives that you want to put in there. There's our 4 drives, so we're going to select all of them. Hit next. That's a total estimated capacity right now of 21.8 terabytes. We're going to hit next on that. So let's see, we're going to do modify allocated size. I'm just going to click max, and then volume description. We don't need to put anything there. Let's see, next. Now I'm going to leave this on the recommended setting because I guess that's what it's recommending. We're still sort of beginners when it comes to this. If we need to get something more advanced, well, we'll do that. But for now, let's do this. And then now finally, just confirm your settings. Apply. All the data on the newly added drive will be erased. Are you sure you want to continue? Yeah, there's nothing on there. Let's go. All right, so once that's completed, you're presented with this. We have the storage pool and the volume within it. So the volume within it, that's where we're going to be needing to create the folders that need to be accessible from the network for this device so that we could use it for either editing off of, cold storage backup, whatever the case. Alright, it took me a second to remember how to set up the shared folder to access this once we map it in Windows. But you come over into the control panel, you click shared folder on the left, and then where it says create, you hit create a shared folder. Follow the steps there, name it, and then you get your primary volume. It's going to ask you to set up permissions and all that. We're just setting up a primary basic folder right now, so no special permissions at the moment. But if you have a look there, you'll see there's the capability to set up different shared folders with different permissions in case you wanted different groups of people to access your NAS remotely, which is also pretty useful because you can give access to somebody and they won't have access to the entire thing, just the folder that you set up and in this screen. So pretty nifty. So if you go to this PC on your computer and then you see all this and you can see why a NAS was needed, we're going to click Map Network Drive up here in the top left. Give it whatever letter you want. We're just going to leave it on Z. And let me see if I remember this correctly. So it was // WS NAS, and then the folder name is also WS NAS. So when you tap that here, and then there we go. Now you want to reconnect that sign in, and we're going to connect using credentials I had already put into it. When you do this, it might ask you for those credentials we created earlier in the video where you created an admin account. Those are the credentials you're going to put in when it asks. Now I click finish. And you see a folder here on the screen pop up, but more importantly, you have it right here. It tells you how many terabytes free, has the name of it and everything, and the same folder that you saw here, we can re-access it by clicking there. Now you have the freedom to create whatever folders you want, move whatever data you want into it. This is the main usage of the NAS, and any data that you want to move onto it now, you can just drag and drop and put it in there. But one more step for even more ease of use is we're going to create a shortcut to this right into the desktop. So create shortcut. Says Windows can't create a shortcut here. Do you want to play this shortcut placed on the desktop instead? Yes. And then now you can always access that from your desktop. Speaking of which, here's the desktop and we see it right here. WS NAS shortcut. Click that and there is your NAS folder in all its glory. Empty right now, but not for long. So back in the web browser interface for your Synology NAS, you see here you're presented with the system health thing, which is kind of nice. You can get a at a glance look at the health of your NAS. Looks like we're good there, obviously. And you have the resource monitor as well, how much of the CPU and RAM, the network activity is going through it. You can see what kind of throughput you're having if you're uploading a lot of data to it, just to make sure that you're getting like the max speed for your network connections. It's kind of useful information. You can also expand it and get a much bigger look at what's going on performance-wise with everything in there. So a lot of information on these to look at. Network is probably going to be the most important one. It tells you each individual Ethernet port and the amount of data that's going through it as well. So back at the main screen of the web page for the NAS, let's look at the package center real quick to see what kind of stuff this thing is capable of. And you have active backup, active back. A lot of this is going to be active backup. You have antivirus you can throw on there just in case as well. There's some, let's see, audio station, which is a multimedia thing. I haven't seen this one before, but there's audio station, mobile app, high quality playback. So you can use it as a media station for your audio files. You have more management utilities, cloud sync. Now, honestly, that's going to be the most important one, and the one that most people use is cloud sync services, because then you can tie your NAS directly into Dropbox, Google Drive, all that sort of stuff, and it will do all the backing up to that instead of you doing it from your computer manually or even automatically using Google Drive, whatever, using resources on your computer. You don't got to worry about that. The NAS will do it, and you can schedule times for it to do it, so it's not using up your network when you need to use it. Back to this, we have file manager stuff, iTunes server, that's kind of neat. All sorts of stuff. You just want to look through it, have a look at what's in here. Synology chat server, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, so much stuff. There's a lot of power with this. There's also third-party add-ons. I believe there's even Plex, so you can even use one of these things as a Plex media server. So if you put a lot of movies on it, all sorts of media, and then you have Plex accessibility from your desktop or any device, streaming device that supports Plex in your household, it can become your own personal like Netflix box, for example. And that's really it. I mean, everything else is very straightforward. You have your control panel with all the information here as far as what you can do. You can configure external access. That's something that I kind of mentioned. You want to enable Quick Connect, and you enable external access. So if you wanted to access this from the Synology app on your phone, or from a remote location, if you have a laptop and you have internet and you're out on the spot somewhere, or if you want to give access to other people, this is where you can set that up, the external access area. So look into this a little bit more. Quick Connect, you have to enable it. There's advanced stuff here, router configuration in case you need to make some adjustments to there. Ultimately though, it's through this Quick Connect feature, which kind of makes it dummy easy for remote access. It's pretty useful. You just set it up there. You're gonna need to set up a Quick Connect separately from this, and then you just put the ID in here, and boom, there you go. Now you might have asked yourself earlier when I showed that the device has USB ports on it, what you can do with that. Well, you plug in an external drive, flash drive I guess, or whatever you want to do with it, an external drive. And you can monitor your external devices from within the NAS software. Whether you can include them into the array, I'm not entirely sure on, but at least you would have a place to access them remotely instead of having to walk around with it and plug it into the USB port on whatever computer you happen to be using. Plug it into the NAS, access it over the network. And that pretty much covers it for me right now in terms of the basics of the NAS setup and accessing it and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully you guys found this useful. Let's get back up to the main desk. So how much storage do you think you guys need? Everything nowadays shoots 4K, 6K, 8K. There's a big push for all this stuff. But the problem is all this stuff takes up more and more space. You lose gigabytes way faster with when things get higher quality. And if you're going to be shooting for events, for work, or you're just shooting a ton of stuff on your phone, you're going to run out of space quick. A lot of this stuff is very important, so you don't want to lose it either. A device like this is really important for all that. But do you guys feel that something like this would help you out? Do you feel that the amount of space that we put into it would be enough for you? And also, Wayne, do you think that's enough data for you? No. When you do video stuff professionally, you run out of space quick. We're gonna end up filling the rest of those drives at some point. So something you gotta remember though is a NAS is not a backup. It is a way to think of it as that, but it's more of a drive redundancy box so you don't lose data. A cool thing that this has is that you can synchronize it with a cloud backup service like Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that right in the software, making it really easy to have another copy of all your data somewhere else. And this device will do it automatically for you once you get it set up. And I mean, nothing is more important than your data, right? All right, if you guys like this video, you know what to do. Also hit that subscribe button and that bell so you don't miss a single upload. Also, I stream to Twitch every Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/Coalition Gaming Crew. So feel free to stop on by, drop a follow, and let's talk some tech or some NASs or whatever, you know, it's all good. We got more content right over here. You click one of these. It's not related to the NAS because this is our first video on one, but we got a bunch of other cool stuff. You want to click one?